Undoubtedly, data science is the most evolutionary technology of the era. It's all about deriving useful insights from data in order to solve real-world complex problems. Hi all, I welcome you to this session on Data Science full course that contains everything that you need to know in order to master data science. Now before we get started, let's take a look at the agenda. The first module is an introduction to data science that covers all the basic fundamentals of data science. Followed by this, we have statistics and probability module where you'll understand the statistics and the math behind data science and machine learning algorithms. The next module is the basics of machine learning where we'll understand what exactly machine learning is, the different types of machine learning, the different machine learning algorithms, and so on. The next module is the supervised learning algorithms module where we'll start by understanding the most basic algorithm, which is linear regression. The next module is the logistic regression module where we'll see how logistic regression can be used to solve classification problems. After this, we'll discuss about decision trees and we'll see how decision trees can be used to solve complex data-driven problems. The next module is random forest. Here we'll understand how random forest can be used to solve classification problems and regression problems with the help of use cases and examples. The next module we'll be discussing is the k-nearest neighbor module where we'll understand how KNN can be used to solve complex classification problems. Followed by this, we'll look at the naive Bayes module, which is one of the most important algorithms in the Gmail spam detection. The next algorithm is support vector machines, where we'll understand how SVMs can be used to draw a hyperplane between different classes of data. Finally, we'll move on to the unsupervised learning module, where we'll understand how k-means can be used for clustering and how you can perform market basket analysis by using association rule mining. The next module is reinforcement learning, where we'll understand the different concepts of reinforcement learning along with a couple of demonstrations. Followed by this, we'll look at the deep learning module, where we'll understand what exactly deep learning is, what are neural networks, the different types of neural networks, and so on. The last module is the data science interview questions module, where we'll understand the important concepts of data science along with a few tips in order to ace the interview. Now before we get started, make sure you subscribe to Edureka YouTube channel in order to stay updated about the most trending technologies. Data science is one of the most in-demand technologies right now. Now this is probably because we're generating data at an unstoppable pace and obviously we need to process and make sense out of this much data. This is exactly where data science comes in. In today's session, we'll be talking about data science in depth. So let's move ahead and take a look at today's agenda. We're going to begin with discussing the various sources of data and how the evolution of technology and introduction of IoT and social media have led to the need of data science. Next, we'll discuss how Walmart is using insightful patterns from their database to increase the potential of their business. After that, we'll see what exactly data science is. Then we'll move on and discuss who a data scientist is, where we'll also discuss the various skill sets needed to become a data scientist. Next, we'll move on to see the various data science job roles such as data analyst, data architect, data engineer, and so on. After this, we'll cover the data lifecycle, where we'll discuss how data is extracted, processed, and finally used as a solution. Once we're done with that, we'll cover the basics of machine learning, where we'll see what exactly machine learning is and the different types of machine learning. Next, we'll move on to the k-means algorithm and we'll discuss a use case of the k-means clustering. After which, we'll discuss the various steps involved in the k-means algorithm. And then we'll finally move on to the hands-on part, where we'll use the k-means algorithm to cluster movies based on their popularity on social media platforms like Facebook. At the end of today's session, we'll also discuss about what a data science certification is and why you should take it up. So guys, there's a lot to cover in today's session. Let's jump into the first topic. Do you guys remember the times when we had telephones and we had to go to PCO booths in order to make a phone call? Now those times were very simple because we didn't generate a lot of data. We didn't even store the contacts in our phones or our telephones. We used to memorize phone numbers back then, or we used to have a diary of all our contacts. But these days we have smartphones which store a lot of data. So there's everything about us in our mobile phones. We have images, we have contacts, we have various apps, we have games. Everything is stored in our mobile phones these days. Similarly, the PCs that we use in the earlier times, it used to process very little data, alright? There was not a lot of data processing needed because technology wasn't evolved that much. So if you guys remember, we used floppy disk back then, and floppy disk was used to store small amounts of data. But later on, hard disks were created, and those used to store GBs of data. But now, if you look around, there's data everywhere around us. All right, we have data stored in the cloud. We have data in each and every appliance at our houses. Similarly, if you look at smart cars these days, they're connected to the internet, they're connected to our mobile phones, and this also generates a lot of data. What we don't realize is that evolution of technology has generated a lot of data. All right, now initially there was very little data and most of it was even structured. Only a small part of the data was unstructured or semi-structured. And in those days, you could use simple BI tools in order to process all of this data and make sense out of it. But now we have way too much data. And in order to process this much data, we need more complex algorithms. We need a better process. All right, and this is where data science comes in. Now, guys, I'm not going to get into the depth of data science yet. I'm sure all of you have heard of IoT or Internet of Things. Now, did you guys know that we produce 2.5 quintillion bytes of data each day? And this is only accelerating with the growth of IoT. Now, IoT or Internet of Things is just a fancy term that we use for network of tools or devices that communicate and transfer data through the internet. So various devices are connected to each other through the internet and they communicate with each other. Right now, the communication happens by exchange of data or by generation of data. Now, these devices include the vehicles we drive. They include our TVs, our coffee machines, refrigerators, washing machines, and almost everything else that we use on a daily basis. Now, these interconnected devices produce an unimaginable amount of data. Guys, IoT data is measured in zettabytes, and 1 zettabyte is equal to trillion gigabytes. So, according to a recent survey by Cisco, it's estimated that by the end of 2019, which is almost here, the IoT will generate more than 500 zettabytes of data per year. And this number will only increase through time. It's hard to imagine data in that much volume. Imagine processing, analyzing, and managing this much of data. It's only going to cause us a migraine. So guys, having to deal with this much data is not something that traditional BI tools can do. Okay, we no longer can rely on traditional data processing methods. That's exactly why we need data science. It's our only hope right now. Now let's not get into the details yet. Moving on, let's see how social media is adding on to the generation of data. Now, the fact that we are all in love with social media, it's actually generating a lot of data for us. Okay, it's certainly one of the fuels for data creation. Now, all these numbers that you see on the screen are generated every minute of the day. Okay, and this number is just going to increase. So for Instagram, it says that approximately 1.7 million pictures are uploaded in a minute. And similarly on Twitter, approximately 348,000 tweets are published every minute of the day. So guys, imagine in 1 hour how much that would be, and then imagine in 24 hours. So guys, this is the amount of data that is generated through social media. It's unimaginable. Imagine processing this much data, analyzing it, and then trying to figure out, the important insights from this much data. Analyzing this much data is going to be very hard with traditional tools or traditional methods. That's why data science was introduced. Data science is a simple process that will just extract the useful information from data. All right, it's just going to process and analyze the entire data, and then it's just going to extract what is needed. Now, guys, apart from social media and IoT, there are other factors as well which contribute to data generation. These days, all our transactions are done online, right? We pay bills online, we shop online, we even buy homes online these days. You can even sell your pets on OLX these days. Not only that, when we stream music and we watch videos on YouTube, all of this is generating a lot of data. Not to forget, we've also brought healthcare into the internet world. Now, there are various watches like BitFit, which basically tracks our heart rate and it generates data about our health conditions. Education is also an online thing right now. That's exactly what you are doing right now. So with the emergence of the internet, we now perform all our activities online. Okay, obviously this is helping us, but we are unaware of how much data we are generating. What can be done with all of this data, and what if we could use the data that we generated to our benefit? Well, that's exactly what data science does. Data science is all about extracting the useful insights from data and using it to grow your business. Now, before we get into the details of data science, let's see how Walmart uses data science to grow their business. So guys, Walmart is the world's biggest retailer with over 20,000